We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.
What is up? We are back with another episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, powered by the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. This is episode 8 of this awesome series, and I want to thank everybody that watches me and my dad every Saturday morning. Now let's get this show on the road.
Welcome back, heroes and heroines, to another exciting episode of and segment of the fundamentals of fantasy football. And we're here to break down the game and equip you with the superpowers you need to dominate your league, all the while keeping things fun and easy for beginners. Welcome to the final stretch of the fantasy football journey. The playoffs are here, and it's time for the superheroes of the fantasy football world to rise to the occasion. But before you get going, before you start flexing your fantasy muscles, let's take a moment to understand how these crucial weeks will work and what you need to emerge victorious. Now, most weeks it starts in week 15. We know we're heading into week 14, but we're going to get you ready. What do we got for them today, Mace?
And the playoffs, they wrap up by week 17. Think of it like your final battle in a superhero movie. The stakes are high, and everything you've worked for all season is on the line. But beware, some leagues may play their championship in week 18, and this can be a risky move. Just like how a villain might strike when you least expect it. The NFL's playoff teams may rest key players in week 18, leaving your team without the heroes who carried your season all along. Always check your league rules before the season starts. It's your secret weapon for success.
So in most leagues, playoff seeding is determined by the regular season record, though some leagues base it off of most points scored. I like that personally. The best means the best team usually is up front. So this is where the strategy becomes key. Your fantasy roster is like assembling a team of superheroes. We mentioned this a lot in the show. But each player's strength is part of a master plan. And in many leagues, the playoffs are set up as a single elimination bracket. Bam, bam, bam. But much like a superhero tournament where one loss can knock you out, however, some platforms like ESPN use a 2-week format, which means you'll need to defeat your opponent over a multiple week round just to keep progress. So the longer the battle, the fewer teams remain, making each decision feel like a pivotal fight in your quest for the championship.
Winning a fantasy football playoff isn't always being the strongest team. It's about getting hot at the right time, just like a hero rising to the occasion when it matters most. Sometimes the best managers aren't the ones who have the most powerful rosters, but the ones who make the right moves when it counts. Think of it like Batman doesn't always win by having the best gadget. He wins by outsmarting his enemies. Fantasy football is much like the same. Making good decisions, adjusting to the unexpected, and playing your cards right is the key to make your mark as a true champion.
Yeah, so when it comes down to crunch time, your roster construction should evolve like a superhero skill set. Early in the season, you're building the ultimate squad. but the playoffs approach, your team needs to be laser focused. And it's like a superhero must adapt to every villain's new scheme. Your bench should be stocked with high upside players ready to step in for injured stars or tough matchups. This is like a great strategy, building running backs on your bench, especially those backups. The strategy of hoarding running backs is especially important during this time, as injuries and fatigue can quickly turn the tide of a fantasy matchup. Don't wait until the last minute to plan ahead like a true superhero and have those key players ready to save the day.
The NFL schedule in December is like an unpredictable villain. It's full of twists and turns. The usual weekly routine starts to unravel as the holidays approach. This makes it important to stay on high alert. A quick, unexpected injury could change everything. So keep an eye on the latest news, just like how Spider-Man adapts to each new villain's trap. You need to stay flexible with your lineup decisions. And remember, avoid the rookie mistake of locking your flex spot too early. Keep it open for later in the week to adjust for any new developments.
Yeah, I like that call. Always get those players out of your flex spots, especially earlier in the week, especially those Thursday games. Definitely, that's a really good call there, Mason. And yeah, I like that a lot. So knowing your opponent is just as important as knowing your own team. So throughout the regular season, you focus on everyone. But once the playoffs hit, you're up against fewer and more specific threats. So this is when you need to make strategic moves to block the competitors and stay ahead. So like Superman knows when to take down Lex Luthor before he can cause more harm. If you're a favorite, play it safe. But if you're the underdog, this might be the perfect time to take some risks, like pairing a receiver with your quarterback to double your chances of a big play.
Now that you understand the basic strategies, it's time to suit up and drive into battle. Each decision you make in these final weeks is crucial to claiming your championship. When the decisions, when dust settles and confetti falls, savor your victory like a hero who saved the world. The journey to a fantasy football championship may not be easy, but when you win, the glory is all yours. Whether you're in a tight matchup or breezing through with a bye, make sure to enjoy the journey and, most importantly, have fun. After all, in the end, fantasy football is all about playing the game and making memories with friends.
Yeah. And it's always good to have a good time and have some fun and don't take it too seriously. I like that. And something that maybe I should take my own words for, because I do take it seriously, and that maybe I should lighten up a bit. All right. Now let's get into
the super-powered game of the week.
Now, this game is where the Kansas City Chiefs are going to face off against the Los Angeles Chargers in an epic showdown filled with fantasy football heroes. And there's going to be some villains in this game that we got to watch out for. But more importantly, I think there's going to be some really big plays. This isn't just an ordinary game. It's a battle of supercharged skill players with Captain Mahomes and Kelsey the Titan leading the charge for the Chiefs, while Iron Hubbard and his secret weapon, McConkey the Phantom, look to upset the mighty Chiefs and claim victory. So buckle up, because this game is going to be super exciting for all fantasy managers.
Let's start with the Chiefs' dynamic duo, Captain Mahomes and Kelsey the Titan. Captain Mahomes has been one of the top quarterbacks in the league for years, and this season is no different. His incredible arm strength and ability to make magic happen in the clutch make him a fantasy superstar. Alongside him is Kelsey the Titan, the tight end who has been being nothing short of unstoppable. Whether he's plowing through defenders or making acrobatic catches in the end zone, Kelsey the Titan is a must-start in fantasy. And he's the perfect target for Captain Mahomes' rocket-like throws. With these two, you can expect plenty of fireworks, big yardage, and touchdowns!
Let's go. But Don't sleep on the Chargers heroes. Leading the charge is the Iron Hubbard, a quarterback who may not be the flashy, just like Captain Mahomes, but he's steady as they come, known for his ability to protect the ball and make all the right throws. The Iron Hubbard has been a reliable fantasy option this season, and don't forget about his secret weapon, McConkey the Phantom. The sneaky wide receiver has been a game changer, showing up in key moments and catching crucial passes when the Chargers need him the most. His ability to get open in tough situations makes him a fantastic fantasy play, especially in a high-powered game like this one. Watch out for McConkey the Phantom to make some big plays that could swing the game in the Chargers' favor.
And on the ground, we've got Pacheco, the powerhouse for the Chiefs. Pacheco is a running back who brings the muscle and the speed. He's not afraid to break through defenders and get tough yards for his team. While the Chiefs are known for their high-flying passing game, Pacheco, the powerhouse, plays a crucial role in helping control the clock and puts points on the board. He's a solid pick in fantasy for those who look for a reliable back who gets the job done, especially in short yardage situations. Over on the Chargers side, Gus Edwards has been the workhorse running back who can power through defenses, earning valuable fantasy points in goal line situations. Though not as flashy as the others, Gus Edwards can still make an impact in the right situations.
Yeah, he might have an opportunity this week to score, and he's big, and he's got that opportunity on the goal line like you mentioned. So that is it. The super-powered game of the week is packed with action, fantasy heroes, and some potential villains looking to spoil the party with Captain Mahomes, Kelsey the Titan, the Iron Hubbard, and McConkey the Phantom, Pacheco the powerhouse, and Gus Edwards playing key roles. This is going to be no shortage of fantasy excitement. Whether you're looking for a huge performance from a superstar like Kelsey the Titan or hoping for McConkey the Phantom to sneak in a few big plays, this game will have it all. Make sure your fantasy lineups are ready because this super powered showdown is one you don't want to miss. Now, Mason, what's our favorite segment of the show?
Heroes and villains.
Let's go. Now, let's start us off, buddy.
Chase Brown. Chase is primed to be a fantasy pick for week 12, and he's going to be an absolute gold mine for points. Chase Brown has been one of the most consistent fantasy performers for the entire season and is racking up at least one touchdown. Here are some stats from Brown's past 5 games.
Yeah, he's had, 86 carries, 350 yards, 4 yards per carry. Not too bad, but 4 touchdowns, almost averaging a full touchdown per game, which is really good, showing that he's incredible in the passing game too. 24 receptions for 178 yards. He's also a Canadian, which is also a great bonus, right?
Brown has been a very consistent fantasy performer in the past few weeks. Brown is also facing the very weak Cowboys defense, ranking 31st in the league against the run. If they keep Brown away from the deadly defensive lineman and Micah Parsons, that is even better for Brown's fantasy performance this week. And his involvement is in the passing game makes him an even sweeter pick for this week. Now, who's your hero, Dad?
All right, bud. Well, I like Tony Pollard, and he's been on and off our villain and hero list over the weeks, but this is timed. He's back on it, and he's going to save my week in a lot of leagues. Picture this. Tony is like a superhero with speed, power, ready to break through any defense that dares to challenge him. He's ready to take on the biggest villain yet. Wait a minute. Not so quite a huge villain, but the Jacksonville Jaguars. But don't worry. Pollard has been training all season, and his special abilities, he's primed to put on a show in week 14.
He's just not any ordinary player. Pollard is one of the most dangerous running backs when it comes to both rushing and catching passes. So buckle up because this week, Pollard is the hero you need in your fantasy lineup, except for Chase Brown. And the Jaguars are about to feel the full force of his superpowers.
Yeah, he's had average 14 fantasy points per game, RB 21 overall, consistent super strength. He's posted 10 or more fantasy points in 7 of his last 9 games. He's like a superhero, not a villain. even when things don't go perfectly. Pollard is a lone wolf when needed without a sidekick. I know Tajay Spears has come back and he's stepping up, but in the last 4 games when he's been the lead hero, he's averaged 100 rushing yards. Pollard versus the Jags defense is, they can't stop anything right now. So I'm looking for Pollard to do well this week.
When Pollard is on the field, he's a superhero in every sense of the word, whether it's rushing or catching passes. Pollard has all the tools he needs to take down the weak Jacksonville defense.
Yeah, this week he's set to bring the heat, making him an excellent choice as a high-end RB2. Just like any superhero facing a weak villain, Pollard is ready to dominate. So trust his powers and watch as he delivers fantasy football victory. He's your hero for week 14. Time to unleash the Pollard power. He's coming to save your lineup this week. Now, let's get into the tough guys, the tough situations here.
Well, it's the villains, of course. Mine is DJ Moore. DJ Moore will be my villain of the week for fantasy football in week 14. And it's looking like a tough matchup for the Chicago Bears wide receiver. Facing off against the San Francisco 49ers, who have one of the league's best pass rank defenses. Moore will have a hard time to make an impact. The 49ers are currently the 4th ranked defense in the NFL, allowing just 190 pass yards per game. With their elite defensive unit, Moore will be likely to be stiffed by a defense that thrives at limiting passing yards and big plays.
Yeah, I know, like the 49ers quarterbacks are some of the best in the league. They're going to make it difficult for wide receivers to get open and make significant gains. So on top of that, their pass rush headlined by Nick Bosa, one of the most disruptive defensive players in the NFL. His ability to generate pressure will force the Bears offense to make quick decisions, limiting Moore's opportunities to get downfield. And, he's been banged up a little bit too. So we don't even know if he's going to be playing. So another situation there to monitor.
With San Francisco's defense in top form, DJ Moore is set for a disappointing week 14. The combination of their top-tier cornerbacks and the relentless pass rush led by Nick Bosa will make it nearly impossible for Moore to find space. Fantasy managers hoping for a big game for Moore should really be a frustrating performance, as the 49ers should shut down Chicago's passing game. It's going to be a tough day for Moore, making him the perfect villain for fantasy football this week.
Okay, well, there you have it. So I got a villain, and it's Chuba Hubbard, and he was once having a promising season, but it's starting to resemble a supervillain on a downfall that was on a hero's journey. Even after a strong start to the year, signing that contract last couple of weeks, Hubbard has been struggling to live up to the expectations for fantasy managers that had him in the last couple of weeks. His workload has been decreasing. His production has dipped, and the timing couldn't be worse with the fantasy playoffs on the line headed into these crucial weeks.
Week 14 presents a very tough matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have proven to be a nightmare for opposing running backs. If you've been riding the Hubbard wave this season, it might be time to bench him and find a more reliable option as you look forward in the playoffs.
Yeah, 12 carries in week 13, his lowest of the season, 2.5 points in PPR in week 13. Philly's tough run defense, like Mason mentioned, the Eagles are allowing the 5th fewest points to running backs, making this an uphill battle for any rusher facing their defense. And Jonathan Brooks is going to get a little bit more of an increased role. Maybe not, a ton, but he has started to steal some red zone touches with 3 red zone carries to Hubbard's 1 in week 13, further reducing Hubbard's chances for fantasy success.
Yeah, and less red zone touches means less touchdowns, and that means less points. In summary, Hubbard's declining production combined him with the Eagles' tough defense and the rise of Jonathan Brooks makes him a risky start in week 14.
Yeah, and with the fantasy football starting up, they're going to be in full swing right away. I just think it's time to bench this hero in decline and find someone with a bit more fight left in them. After all, even the best superheroes have their days off. So Mason, let's get into the final segment, which is our top 5s. And what is it this week?
Animals.
So what's your favorite? What's your 5? What's your number 5 for
Red Panda.
Why is red panda so cool?
Because they're cute. They're adorable, and I want one.
All right. I like a fox. I think they're, smart. I've had a couple of them come, eat stuff out of my hands. So I'm pretty cool with that.
My number 4 is a polar bear. They're basically just big dogs, and I want one.
I like gorillas. I've been seeing a couple in the zoos in my day, and they're really interesting to, monitor and watch and observe.
My 3 is a lynx, which we have up here if you're from the U.S. They're Canadian, and they're like a cat, but they're like a little bit bigger, and they're cute, and I love them. And if you don't know what it is, search it up.
And I got tigers and lions as 3 and 2. I just love the big cats, the power that they possess. I think it's pretty cool.
My number 2 is a fox. Well, like you said, they're super cool.
And then my favorite animal is, because we have one, a dog.
Dogs.
Let's go. So,
especially Cashew. He's adorable.
Yeah, he's our little pup. So, folks, thanks again for watching the Fantasy Football Funhouse on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, powered by the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Now, remember, folks, go get your merch. 20% off and free shipping on your orders over $99. We just launched the store in the last week or two, so it is hopping. You're going to see some, things like my new hat up here from the Fantasy Forecast. So, yeah, check it out. It's going to be there. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And what do we say at the end of every show, Mace?
We hope you win.
We hope you win, folks. Enjoy the game.